It's a Dota Weekly Show!
Yay!
Hey everyone, you're watching the Dota Weekly Show, your source of news, mechanics, and something interesting. I'm Luminous, your host for the show, and let's get right into the news. Big things first, after Gamescom, IGN has named Dota 2 as the People's Choice Award, garnering about 250,000 votes. Pretty ridiculous number if you're asking me. I'm glad that the Dota community is getting more and more recognized in the entire gaming world, so more power to us, I suppose. If you think Gamescom was a big LAN experience that you enjoyed, well, more tournaments are coming up, one of which is a Chinese online invite-only tournament called the GLHF. Good luck, have fun. Or is it HFGL? I think that's it. So, this tournament is inviting the 8 best Chinese teams, and also MYM, Navi, Stars Boba, MUFC. So pretty good mix of teams outside of China, plus of course the 8 Chinese teams. Of course lag would be an issue given that this is an online tournament, but I think it should be okay. RGC last year had a good number of quote-unquote like foreign teams that were really far away. But the tournament went, pretty smooth. So I'm looking forward to that. The bigger thing is that DK has a new roster. Here the player, Long Didi, Yeru, so some of my favorite players on that team. And here's what the Invictus Gaming. As you know, Invictus Gaming bought out CCM and also LGD. So under Invictus Gaming, they have two teams. So the formerly known CCM, of course, captained by Zoe, is now named as iG.Z, of course, after Zoe. And here is the roster. And the other team, the LGD, is captained under YYF. So now they're known as iG.Y. So you know what? If the two IG teams meet up in a game, we're going to have so much fun commentating iG.Z versus iG.Y. Man, this is going to be ridiculous. So here, of course, here's the iG.Y roster. And of course, the last player for the new LGD roster, iG.Y roster, is PLT. So that's a carry player from eHome. So it should be good. eHome is now needing another player, but as these games are progressing, or at least as the HLGF tournament is happening, I'm sure all the Chinese team would have a stable roster, and we're going to see some very, very good games being played as well. And also more tournament happening. You gotta keep in mind the ESWC, WDC are both happening in October, I believe. SMM is gonna be happening in December. I think ACES is somewhere in between as well. So we're gonna see a lot more tournaments coming up. And if you enjoy Gamescom as a big tournament, you're gonna see a lot more of that. We casters are getting ready to cast those games as well. Oh, by the way, going back to Gamescom, I will be casting the finals. I know a lot of my viewers are asking for that. Don't worry, they will be there. I'm not rushing through it, so I'm going to take my time with it. But hopefully you guys will wait patiently for those as well. So that's it for this week's news. Let's get into mechanics. So this week's mechanic, I want to talk a little about damage reduction items. So that's things like armor, damage block from Stout and Vanguard, and also magic resistance items. So let's start with the armor, because I think that's the easier one to get. One of the bigger misconceptions about armor is that armor gets less and less effective when you have a lot of it. And that's absolutely false. So for example, a lot of people think that, hey, you have 45 armor already, and if you get 10 more armor, that extra 10 armor is going to be very ineffective in giving you more survivability. And again, that's false. So for example, if 1 plate mail makes you survive 3 more attacks, then 4 plate mails would make you survive 12 extra attacks. It stacks completely additively, which by the way, I'm getting this completely from the Plato's mechanic page. I recommend you to read some stuff in it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can learn in it. And here's some mathematical way to look at it. If let's say you have 1000 HP and 0 armor, to kill you, someone have to do 1000 physical damage. Simple, right? Let's say you have the same 1000 HP hero with 10 armor. 10 armor give you 37.5 damage reduction. So meaning every time they hit you, you're only taking 62.5% of the damage. So now in order for the enemy to kill you physical damage, they have to do 1600 physical damage to kill you. So you're going from 1000 HP to taking 1600 damage. So basically you could say that you effectively gain 600 extra HP, and we call this effective HP. So now same hero, 1000 HP, but with 20 armor. 20 armor gives you 54.5 damage reduction, which meaning each attack that you're taking only deals 45.5% of damage. So now in order for the enemy to kill you with physical damage, they have to do 2200 damage. The effective HP increase here from 1000 to 2200 is 1200. And if you remember, 10 armor gave you 600 effective HP, 20 armor gives you 1200 effective HP. You can see that when you're doubling the armor, your effective HP is also doubling. So I hope that mathematically just dispel the myth of, oh, you know what, I have a lot of armor, and if I even get more armor, like that extra armor is going to be ineffective in terms of increasing my effective HP. That is completely false. Now, in more of a realistic and strategic standpoint, if you have 45 armor already, yeah, sure, getting more armor is going to increase my effective HP in a steady rate. But like strategically, you might want to pick up a little bit more HP. You might want to pick up a little bit more magic resistance. But mathematically, armor stacks fully, and I just want to get that out of the picture. The second thing I want to talk about is damage block, which is, you know, things from like Stout Shield, Poor Man's Shield, and Vanguard and things like that. And here's a couple graph that is made by LordShinjo from the Play-Doh Advanced Mechanics forum. And these graphs shows the value of, let's say, Stout Shield, and equivalently how much armor that gives you. Let's say you're a hero with 0 armor, you have a melee Stout Shield on you, and you're taking 60 incoming damage. So really that Stout Shield is giving you around 4 armors or so. Let's say if you have melee Stout Shield and 0 armor, and you're taking about 150 incoming damage, that Stout Shield is giving you around like 1.5 to 2 armor. So, and that makes sense, right? Because as the game goes on, the damage increase, but your Stout Shield is, you know, blocking a static amount. You can see that in this graph, it shows you after you go above like 50 damage or so, like that Stout Shield gives you very minimal amount of armor. So in terms of survivability, that Stout Shield is a cheap item. It's 250 gold, but the effectiveness of that survival item actually decreases by a lot. So that was a melee Stout Shield. Let's look at range Vanguard. Let's look at 10 armor this time with range Vanguard. If you're taking 100 damage with range Vanguard and 10 base armor, that range Vanguard is actually just giving you 5 armor equivalently, basically. So you can see that again, a damage block as survivability goes is really weak, like really weak, and like 100 damage in, like you get that in 20 minutes. So you can see that your Vanguards or range Vanguards in this case, the effectiveness of that item just goes away really quickly. So I'm not saying that range Vanguard is a bad item. I'm just mathematically showing the ineffectiveness of it in terms of giving you more survivability. Of course, there's many other items that you could consider, but that's another discussion for another day. So now we cover armor and then damage block. Let's look at magic resistance, which I think most of us has a very good understanding of it because we see it so often. But one of the bigger misconceptions is that magic resistance stacks fully, and it doesn't. So if you have, let's say, spell shield from anti-mage, which is 50% block, and if you have hood, that's a 30% block, and let's say, you know, of course, your basic hero reduction, 25%, that doesn't give you 105% damage resistance, magic damage resistance. No way, like that's too broken. Magic resistance does stack, but not fully. And here's a formula how to calculate it. And basically, I use the example of you're an anti-mage and you have a hood. So basically, you're 50% from spell shield, you're 30% from hood, and of course, your basic 25% from your hero resistance. So you can see that it's not fully stacking, but it still stacks. And in this example, it gives you 73%, 74% in terms of magic resistance. So that's pretty good. Of course, I alluded to it already. Sometimes when you think about survivability, you know, you might want to mix and match. You know, you might want to get some armor, you might want to get some magic resistance, you might want to just get some raw HP in some instances. But that's just, you know, game-to-game transition. For example, if you're Doombringer, you're actually a lot better off in terms of getting a plate mail than a Vanguard, because you have so much HP already. The extra block, which is not that big of a deal as we shown from the damage block picture, and the extra HP is not that effective compared to a single plate mail, which effectively increased your effective HP against physical damage by a lot. Now, that's only the case if you're taking a lot of physical damage, but if you're taking, let's say, a lot of magical damage, then you might want to get a cloak. So you can see that I could give you all the examples in the world, but it's up to you to apply this into your real game situation. You gotta recognize, hey, I'm taking a lot of nukes here, I might want to pick up a hood. versus I'm taking a lot of physical damage here, I might want to take up a plate mail. So hopefully this helps you out a little better in terms of picking up smarter item choices in games. Oh yeah, especially in pub games, plate mail is like the way to go, because you know everyone goes PASA and all that stuff. So I mean, some things to consider. So that's this week's mechanic, and here's for something interesting. So I recently finished the anime Ika Musume, which the plot is about a squid girl that comes from the depth of the ocean to invade humanity because humans are polluting the ocean and making the ocean go really bad. And that's the plot, right? Because this anime has no plot. This is actually a 12-episode anime, nothing but comedy. So I generally dislike watching a plotless anime, if you will, but this one's actually quite enjoyable to watch. The characters are really nice. I actually really enjoy Ika Musume as a main character a lot. Like, I generally don't enjoy lowly types of character, but Ika Musume is actually pretty hilarious as a character, and so is the rest of the cast. So for most of the animes I watch, I generally blow through it, like marathon through it. So episode 1 to 24 in one go, or maybe in 2 or 3 different goes. But for Ika Musume, I actually took my time with it. I watched it in like 2 or 3 weeks, just, you know, 15 minutes here, an episode there. And it's that type of anime, you know, you just have 15 minutes of time, you want to just have a good laugh, you sit down and watch it. So if you're looking for something that's not really plot heavy, no action, just comedy, I actually recommend checking that one out. I think I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. And if you're interested in how I'm ranking or judging, scoring these animes, in the description box there is gonna be, I guess, a scoring rubric, if you will. Let me know, actually. I mean, this news segment, I suppose, if you do the weekly show, the news is always gonna be there. The mechanics is always gonna be there. I'm trying something out, and it's supposedly to be like something interesting, like something I done last week, or something that I caught my eye. You know, maybe an anime I'm watching, maybe a game I'm playing, something like that. And then I'm gonna, you know, talk about it for a bit. Let me know if you guys don't want that, like, cause I know you guys come to my channel expecting Dota stuff, and that's fine. And I should definitely give you Dota stuff if that's what you guys want. But you know, I do enough Dota stuff, so I'm just wondering if you guys actually would mind if I do, you know, something, you know, a 2-minute segment on an anime I'm watching or something like that. So let me know on what you think about the new portion of the Dota Weekly Show, and give me feedback on that. So that's it from me this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's Dota Weekly Show. And as always, this is Luminous signing off. See you guys.